here.
Some people know.
Know your name tag, and I'm gonna give y'all the paper.
Okay, Kim, do you have an agenda?
I do.
Hello, Roy.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Hey, Roy, how you been?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Easy vote, we want to call that easy vote disclosure, do we even need to disclose that yet, we don't really know that yet. I think it's gonna make the news. Right, it's affected lots of other counties, we just need to just say,
Yeah, we are now.
that's what it is.
Test, so we're good.
Do we want to put on the agenda?
You got my attention.
In her report?
We're waiting.
Okay. Okay. So you can mention successful vote.
We have a statement, they asked us to.
And so, I thought we were gonna vote on that tonight, that's why we didn't do that last night, was my memory of it, but.
Ben,
Now, consensus.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
who's praying, who's pledging?
Who wants to, I'll pledge. Pledge, prayer, Alpha prayer, we got it, okay. Yeah, and I think we got that, and for whatever reason, Boyd, wasn't at the meeting last night, so.
We're going to start selling tickets.
It'll all be over after a while.
It's in the safe. If you'll do that, I'd appreciate it. I'm still afraid something's gonna happen to it. It's sort of spread out.
Got it. Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Hey,
We're good. Are y'all done? Y'all ready? Okay. All right, and you got the text for the executive session, and that is always right here, right? Right, and, then, do I need to do anything as far as accommodating the 6:45 call, getting it in? Or, I mean, normally chair reserves the right to amend to amend the agendas. There's usually a line around that in there, but
We don't have that.
we don't have that. I mean, we'll just have to, right. It's like in conventions or whatever, but, since, nope, it ain't what we at.
I would just,
I'll just state after public comment that we got a call coming in at 6:45 that we'll have to work the agenda around as we're doing amendments. And I don't know.
otherwise, the meeting time.
All right. Very good. Welcome, everybody. Would like to call to order. We've got the clocks showing a minute over. I got the sign-in sheet right here. This is for public comment. Yep. So we got that, and it looked like we're a minute past, so. You good? I'm just looking at the clock in front of me, so. Okay, it is 6 now officially. Guess we need to get the clock synced to Cupertino. Would like to call to order the February 8th, 2022 meeting of the Spalding County Board of Elections and Registration. If everybody would, please silence your cell phones and all other electronic devices. And if we stand, we'll have invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, how holy is your name. We invite your Holy Spirit to be with us in this meeting, O God, for you know the hearts of all men and women, for you made us and you love us. So we ask you, Heavenly Father, just intervene in our meeting with our health and strength, and by the power of your Holy Spirit, that we may be of kindred minds, if possible, because with you all things are possible. We love you, Lord, and we ask you to bless each one in attendance here today, that we may leave in some kind of harmony. I ask this blessing in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, next up is citizen comments. We'll do those in order. The standard boilerplate here applies. I will read it. Speakers must sign up prior to the meeting and provide their names. It still says addresses. That's, okay. Yep, name, address, and topic they wish to discuss. Speakers must direct your remarks to the board and not to individual board members or to the audience. Personal disagreements with individual board members or employees are not a matter of public concern, and personal attacks will not be tolerated. The chairman has the right to limit your comments in the interest of disposing of the board's business in an efficient and respectable manner. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes to speak on their chosen topics as they relate to matters pertinent to the jurisdiction of the Board of Elections and Registration. No questions will be asked by any of the board members during citizen comments, and outbursts from the audience will not be tolerated. Common courtesy and civility are expected at all times during the meeting. No speaker will be permitted to speak more than 3 minutes or more than once unless the board votes to suspend this rule. First up, we've got Judy, is it Bowman? Bauman, okay, B-A-U, okay, thank you. I will correct that, you've got 3 minutes, ma'am.
My name is Judith Bauman. I live at 70 Terracedale Court. And I am here tonight, thank you for allowing me to speak, but I'm here tonight to speak about the souls to the polls. I worked the election at UGA in November of '21. And a board member or someone from the election office came and sat down next to me, and I asked about the voting on Sunday. I thought it was mandated by the state, and he said, oh no, the Griffin board has decided that there will be no Sunday voting. And I said, well, why? And he said, because it costs about $10,000 and we'd only get 350 votes. So at the end of the day, we had 4 voting machines, a huge hall, a police officer out there for 12 hours. We only had 369 votes. Now, I understand, he said the citizens of Griffin are very concerned about how money is spent. Well, I know that. All you have to do is go up 6th Street and see those brick beds that the trucks have taken out more than not. I would imagine that costs more than $10,000. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to meet the Honorable John Lewis. And since it's Black History Month, I think we should look back to what that man did. He was 25 years old when he walked across that Edmund Pettus Bridge. He was met by fire hoses, dogs, police with batons, and he was nearly beaten to death. He did it for voting rights, and he has always done everything, not just for African American people. He worked for injustice and what is wrong with the system. He carried that burden for 64 years. And he wanted everything. One of the statements, he wrote a prelude to the book that about the Rosenwald School, and I read some of that. And what he says, we want everyone to join together. When you see injustice, you need to speak about it. When you need unfairness, you need to speak about it. So please consider your decision on voting on Sunday.
Thank you very much for your comments. All right, next up is Stanley Washington.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me this time. Stanley Washington. I live at 709 East McIntosh Road, Griffin, Georgia. And I just want to speak to some of the issues that I incurred in 2020 election. My wife and I stood in line 4.5 hours to vote. When I finally got to the in the building and give them my identification and everything. I was told I had voted by mail-in ballot, which that was incorrect. I spoke to Ms. Ridley and asked, could I see the mail-in ballot and the signature? I was told, no, I'd have to go through the Secretary of State. I had to sign an affidavit saying that I had not voted by mail and to cast a provisional ballot. I again asked, how could I make sure that my vote was cast the way I wanted it? I was told again I'd have to go through the Secretary of State. Once we voted, after I got home, in the mail that day, I had, my wife and I both had a mail-in ballot. Nothing we requested. The next day, we received 2 more mail-in ballots, along with an absentee ballot from my mother. My mother passed in 2014. So I called the elections office and asked how that was possible that she received a ballot in 2020 and she'd been passed since 2014. Again, I was told I had to go through the Secretary of State. So I filed all this with the Secretary of State. No avail. I've not heard one thing from them today. So what I would ask of you, that please ensure we have a secure voting for both parties, regardless who you are. Make sure we've got integrity and transparency. That should give everybody a better feeling about our voting system. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Next up is Michelle Knight.
Thank you. My name is Michelle Knight. I reside at 1111 Skyline Drive, and I'm not related to State Representative David Knight, for those wondering. I'm here this evening to discuss election integrity in Spalding County, specifically what I witnessed as a volunteer. Integrity issue number 1, in November 2020, I served as an observer during the risk limiting audit conducted in our county, and while observing, I noticed a clear red box labeled Regional Manager's Box. Inside this clear box, I could see ballot marking device and scanner password along with an 8-digit code. It bothered me that no one seemed to take password security seriously over such a vital piece of our election equipment. Integrity issue number 2. In December of 2020, I presented a challenge to the previous board of 180 electors who had submitted a change of address, as is my right as a resident to this county. Even after informing them at least one person from out of state voted in our general election, they voted 3-2 to deny my request to determine if those 180 electors were legally eligible to vote in the January 2021 runoff. That made me question the integrity. And then last January, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger told us we had safe, secure, honest elections, but last month he tells us he's opening an investigation after, quote, credible evidence was given to us that people were harvesting ballots. You can see this evidence for yourself if you watch 2000mules.com. It is a 1.5-minute video. Evidence presented by True the Vote included video footage from surveillance cameras that were strategically placed outside of drop boxes, geolocation data for the cell phones of more than 200 activists who were seen on the tapes, and a Georgia man admitted he was paid thousands of dollars to harvest ballots in Atlanta for both the presidential election and the Senate runoff. The evidence presented that scores of activists worked with nonprofit groups to collect and deliver thousands of absentee ballots, often during wee hour operations, to temporary voting drop boxes distributed around the state. To say that there is no evidence of widespread election irregularities is false. While this may or may not have happened in our county, we simply do not know. Here is what we do know. The ballot marking device and the scanner password was left unsecured. Dominion devices contain Wi-Fi capabilities, and last week a Michigan judge released an audit of Dominion voting systems revealing that the machines and their software were designed to create systemic fraud. According to what we were told here in Spalding County, it was a software update that caused the glitch here that had our polls closed on Election Day. We had ballots printed on regular paper versus ballot paper. We have a pro V&V employee seen on video removing a memory card and placing it in his backpack. And if you remember, Fayette County had scanned votes found on a memory card they failed to upload to the system. We also had electors being allowed to vote without showing their ID. I'm just asking the board tonight to restore faith in our elections and be transparent and make ballot images and Dropbox video surveillance available to the public, and please consider a full forensic audit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Make it stop. All right, silence that electronic device, and then start it over. Okay, next up, we've got Bob Bear. Did I get that right? Is it Buyer? Is it Buyer or Bear? I'm
Buyer.
sorry. Buyer, okay.
That's okay, that's okay.
If I can pronounce it wrong, I will. I apologize.
I've been called worse.
Me too, me too.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Bob Byer. I live at 516 Orchid Lights Court. The Spalding Board of Elections has been under the spotlight recently from several national news organizations. This is most likely due to HB 769 being passed that singles out just Spalding County. These articles have focused on some recent actions and have unfortunately mentioned each one of you by name. And again, unfortunately, this national attention and coverage is just not going to be going away. The 2020 presidential election was one of the largest and fairest in our country's history. This has been verified from officials from Attorney General Bill Barr, Brad Raffensperger, and further upheld in over 60 lawsuits where judges found there just wasn't enough evidence. But the continuing voter fraud controversy is part of the fuel to this media fire. I know most of you, and I do believe you want to do what is in the best interest of the citizens of Spalding County. But what you do, please remember, is currently under a national microscope. Doing something like eliminating any Sunday voting will be viewed not as a cost savings, but as further evidence of voter suppression. This will be handing the media even more ammunition. Plus, even if it's just a handful of citizens that vote on Sundays, keeping the polls open is the right thing to do. And I encourage you, for the sake of all citizens of Spalding, to allow for Sunday voting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Reset, ready. Next up is Carmen Torres.
Carmen Torres, 416 South 6th Street. As you all may have noticed, our world has changed. How many people have to operate, it's only gotten harder. Last election cycle, about 1,000 people showed up to vote due to their schedules. Taking away Sunday voting prevents many from being able to cast their vote, which certainly isn't fair. Certain members of the board have continuously promoted that this time around will be fair, honest, and transparent. What is fair about taking away Sunday voting when people need to be able to cast their votes on Sunday? Especially when many local businesses are closed or close early, or people get that day off. And furthermore, if anyone has religious views, the Lord knows in their heart that it is not about any ill will, especially if they truly believe in, Christianity. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, I'm going to struggle with this name, but I'm going to try, and I apologize ahead of time. But
It's okay.
and I'm.
I'll say it for you.
Yes, ma'am. If you wouldn't mind, and I will
everybody.
I will promise to remember it.
My name is Pingay Dumignon.
Dumignon.
I live
Very
at
good.
622 Melrose Avenue. And I'm here to speak on the situation with Sunday voting. At this time, the people of Spalding are hardworking people. And most of the times when the early voting is available, it's not available to them because they have to work. Sunday voting is the door that we're able to walk through. That's the door that we're not going to have to stand on line for 4 hours to vote. And as one of the people of Spalding County, I feel that our people here deserve to have that option. Now, I do understand that the vote will be being made today, and we're just asking you guys to look at it from a perspective of working people and people that really can't leave their jobs to stand on the line for 4 hours. So Sunday voting opens up the doors that allows us to be able to do that. Souls to the polls and things of that nature. And we're just asking you to think really hard about what it is that you're going to do in this vote. We don't want to make it look as if it's anything other than that you guys want us to be able to vote. So I thank you for your time today, and I really want you to think about the possibility of not having it and how many people will not be able to vote because of that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Pinon.
Oh, he got it right.
Did I? Did I? Hallelujah. All right, next up is, Buster Dawkins. I think I got that one right. That's all. Less than 3 syllables and
That's
good to go.
okay.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And I didn't come tonight for politics or anything like that and say why I would be against or for Sunday voting. I just want to defend what Sunday is. And I think we in America have forgotten the true meaning of Sunday. When Christ went into the temple, they had made it a den of thieves, he said. And he run them out. He said, my Father's house should be a house of prayer. When you say souls to the polls, we should consider as God's people and as Christians and as just humans, there is a God and he's watching. I am more afraid of him than I am anybody that's got a newspaper or a camera or a microphone. And we should be more concerned about getting souls into heaven and not into the voting booths. And I'm defending my salvation. I was saved in 1964. I'm still have eternal life. And I'm defending God on this. It's time that we, of God's children, we've been silent too long. Our country, look at it. It's because we've taken God out of government. We've taken God out of everything. Now we want to take Sundays and make it all about politics. We get that 6 days a week. We don't need it 7. We need to be like God and take a day of rest and worship him and give God the glory. And let's keep the day holy. And I appreciate your time, but I'm here to honor
Could we
God.
please?
Thank you. Thank
All
you
right,
for listening.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
If everybody could, please, I understand everybody's passionate, but out of respect for everybody, try to keep quiet while they're speaking, excuse me. Next up is Keegan Prescott.
Thank y'all for letting me speak today. I'm Keegan Prescott. I reside at 808 Carver Road. Some within our community are unhappy with the changes with the current makeup of the board that was triggered by the passage of HB 769, which essentially rewrote the bylaws of the Spalding County BOE and was compounded by the sweeping changes in the election policy and the voting procedural changes we have implemented as a result of SB 202, also known as the Election Integrity Act of 2021, which went into effect March 25th, 2021. These kinds of disagreements between constituents are a part of any healthy representative Republican form of government. as Georgia and our nation's founders expected. However, there exists a line between opposing parties engaged in passionate but respectful debate and hateful insults and defamatory rhetoric directed towards opposing sides, and that line has been crossed. In the interest of ensuring that all voices are heard and not just those that are the loudest, I wanted to speak directly to the voters of Spalding County to make them aware of the Board of Elections has had about some of the most disrespectful and insulting allegations that have been made both individual board members and the board as a whole. The 14th Amendment and the oath of office. I'll end it here. The members of Spalding County Board of Elections took an oath of office to serve in the interest of all eligible voters of Spalding County and the cities of Griffin and Orchard Hill. In that oath, they swore to uphold not only the Georgia State Constitution, but the Constitution of the United States of America, which in the 14th Amendment guarantees the right of equal protection under the law for all citizens, not just those whom we may or agree or disagree politically. Anyone who states directly or even rhetorically that the actions of this board or its members are intended to marginalize or deprive one group of eligible voters to the benefit of another is outright lying, and you should take a close look to examine their motives by making such defamatory and divisive comments. There's no room for politics in the conduction of elections.
Thank you. Next up, Zachary Fuller.
Thank you for your time. My name is Zachary Fuller. I live at 1708 West Poplar Street, Griffin, Georgia, and I would like to advocate on behalf of Sunday voting. So, of course, historically in this country, in a lot of black faith-based communities, they have this tradition called Souls to the Polls, and not in everyone, it's not universal, but you know, it's sort of a tradition where people were intimidated when they first got the right to vote insured, which was only a couple of decades ago. It was only the 1960s, and people were still intimidating certain voters when they went to the polls, and so they would go in groups, and they were encouraged with the community that they fostered in the church to go to polls right after church. So they prayed, and they have the protection of God and the fellowship of other members of their community to protect them from intimidation or sometimes violent attacks. Now, those racist attacks may be less common now, but they still exist sometimes, and it gives people a good peace of mind to be able to go on a day like that if it is that sort of tradition. But beyond Souls to the Polls and beyond a racial issue, being able to vote on the weekend is something that will help people vote of any race, especially working people, because when you work full-time, you know, a lot of people will have to work one day of the weekend, or they'll have to work, I mean, I've known plenty of people who've worked every day of the week for a certain amount of hours, and because of the restrictions on hours of the day that polls are open, which I completely understand, it would really help working class voters to be able to vote every day of the week, especially on a weekend. So if you were to cut a day, I would suggest not one of the days on the weekend, because that's when more people are off on those days. But I would like every day of the week during an election season to be open. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary. Next up, David Graves.
David Graves. I live at 439 Beacon Court here in Griffin, and thank you for taking time to listen to me. I got just a couple of remarks and just a couple of points to make. I'll be brief because a lot of people are wanting to speak. But first thing I want to do is I want to acknowledge the people on the board. It's a hard job, and it requires a lot of civic responsibility, and for people to stand up and do this job, I think we owe them a debt of gratitude. And so thank you very much for that. Now, a couple of folks have talked to the issue of voter integrity and voter suppression. And I think that's what you guys are here to do. That's what you're trying to do. I know Spalding County has had some problems with the voting processes and procedures in past years. And I know from having talked to a couple of you guys personally that you're intent on fixing those kind of problems. And I applaud you, and I hope you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Mary Brown. I think I might finally have cracked my pronunciation barrier for the night, but I'll probably mess up again.
Thank you all. I'd like to once again come to this board and thank you for your dedication and reiterate what the gentleman before me said about your commitment to Spalding County, its residents, to an ethical and legal, transparent board. As we know from over the past year, 2 years, I guess, over 400 violations of the previous election supervisor that were forwarded to the Attorney General's office, we were in desperate need of change. You gentlemen were appointed to do this job and to do it in a nonpartisan but ethical way. So thank you very much for standing up and doing that. Having said that, at last month's meeting, I was very saddened for one of the board members to stand up in front, or to sit in front of us and call a lot of his constituents cyberbullies or cyber terrorists. It was not only unprofessional, it was also reprehensible to have someone state that to their people who are out here trying to call for full forensic audits. If we don't have anything to hide, why can't we move forward and do the investigations that the AG has been forwarded to the Attorney General? Why can't we move forward with the people who are requesting, I believe it was over 2,000 submissions with at least 50 that were from Spalding County? Why can't we move forward with that if we don't have anything to hide? If we are here for the very reason of ethical transparency and all legal above board elections, we need to move forward. I would also like to ask for an apology from this board member and a retractment of his statement to the constituents of this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Next up is Cindy Sanders. Yep, yes.
Cindy Sanders, 206 Park Street, Griffin, Georgia. I would just like to request that there is no voting on Sundays due to, we already have 14 days of early voting. We also have after 6 o'clock. We also have absentee voting and the cost that it occurs to the county. And that's really all I have to say, because Sunday I see as a day of rest and a day of worship to God, and I am a Christian. So I just wanted to let you know that, and I appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you, Cindy. Let's see, Isaac Melton, you're up next.
Hey, I'm Isaac Melton, 515 North Brookwood Terrace. I think that it is very important to have transparency in elections. I think that it is very important to have an educated electorate. I've heard lots of things about people receiving multiple ballots, these sorts of things. I think it would be in our best interest to educate people. There are political mailers that look like ballots. There are ballot applications that look like ballots. Absentee ballots look very different than some of these other things that we see. I think transparency in any businesses that may be related to members of the board that may have say in the infrastructure of the city, of the county, may have be taking care of the election machines, these kinds of things. I think it's very important for everybody to be able to trust that there will be transparency with how these things are being handled, as well as the number 400 complaints against the last Board of Elections. You know, if these complaints have not been followed up on, I think it would benefit everybody to be informed as to why they were not followed up on. You know, was it thrown out? Have they just not gotten to it? The more information that we can have about what's going on, the better off we're all going to be, and the more trust that we can have in it. So I think that, you know, if we're being promised transparency, we're going to expect transparency. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Isaac. Quimby Melton the third. I got you, all right.
I'm gonna take this off so I can be heard a little bit better.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for your time. Quimby Melton III, I live at 1121 Skyline Drive, one of our neighbors over here. Hey, just spoke. What a mess we're in with the elections. What an absolute mess we are in. I had the privilege of teaching in the Griffin Spalding school system for a lot of years. I taught government. And the one way that you get democracy where it's no good anymore is that you create confusion, you create chaos, and you can take away democracy. Our last best bet with democracy is voting. That's the only way people have a chance to say what they want to say. Now, I'm sure that this last election didn't please a whole lot of folks. The results, election number 1 in November, and then the runoff for the Senate right after that. In fact, I is one of the ones that has been sued by the Attorney General of Georgia for violations of certain voting things, which we did not do. I've talked to several members sitting up here today, still have not heard one word, whether that's been decided or not. And by the way, our county commission chairman, Clay Davis, was also one of those that was found in fault. What a mess we have. What an absolute mess that we have. I hate to see any kind of conflicts coming up, be it through cyberspace, be it through electronics, internet, however you want to say it. Dominion had the wherewithal within the computers. A lot of folks say they messed up. A lot of folks say they can be manipulated. And that's real sad if you go into an election and you try to vote and your vote's already predetermined because of electronics. Now, several things that concern me. Suppression of votes is one of them. The House bill and the Senate bills that were turned out by our illustrious representatives and senators, they're a mess. They were a mess for Spalding County to try to deal with. We do need more transparency. In fact, it bothers me that several folks on the county commission and on this commission were diving in the dumpsters after the last election trying to find fault with the people that were running the elections. Does that mean my time is up?
Yes, sir. If you want to wrap up with a closing statement.
Last thing I want to say is that I sure would like to see a little bit more diverse board of elections.
Please.
I look up here,
Be respectful.
all men, I'm a man, but we need some ladies. We need some diversity on this Spalding County Board of Elections. Y'all are doing a great job. I know it's not without sacrifice. I know it's not, you don't get a whole lot of thanks. But we need some diversity on this board. And we need some transparency so that when we vote, we'll be satisfied that our vote is going to count.
Thank you, Quimby.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up is Darrell Williams.
I'm Darrell Williams. I live at 834 Dusky Sap Court in Griffin, Georgia, 30223. When I was 8 years old, I noticed my uncle and one of my cousins wearing a button that said, "I like Ike." I wasn't really sure what was to like or what was not to like about Ike, but seemed kind of a neat thing. Well, that next year in Gardens Elementary School in Pasadena, Texas, we studied government, and 3 things really stuck in my mind. And the first one was, not everybody votes. And it is a privilege to be an American where you can vote. And the second thing was, not only is it a privilege, but it is our right as Americans to vote. And then the third thing that was really drilled in by that teacher was, it is your responsibility to vote. And I challenge you as board members to not put anything in the way of people having their privilege, exercising their rights, and participating in their civic duty. For me, I'm retired, makes no difference what day of the week I vote. But I've got a granddaughter, I'm so proud of her, she got to vote for the first time in 2020. She is working as a veterinary technician in an animal hospital in the oncology ward, and she works 6 days a week. Kind of like the Bible says, 6 days you rest, 6 days will you labor, and on the 7th you rest. The Bible doesn't say about working only 5 days. She works 6 days. So guess when she votes? On Sunday. She's not in Spalding County, she's in a different county in Georgia, but she needs Sunday voting. Think about people with all of the economic issues we have today, all of the people that find it necessary to work 6 days, please give them a chance to exercise their civic responsibility, a chance for them to participate in our democracy, their right, their privilege as Americans. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Brittany Cobb.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello. Hi, my name is Brittany Michelle Cobb, and 1205 County Line Road is where I reside. I would like to speak to the board tonight as a poll worker. I am a Christian poll worker in this community, and I do not want to work on a Sunday because I observe the holy day of rest. It is not right that if you're asking people to go to church, what about us? That's got to work the polls. It's already hard enough as it is to get support, and I would like to point out how we have a great need across the state of Georgia for poll workers. And we have a lack of volunteers. We have a lack of people for the count. We have a lack of people for the vote. It's hard enough as it is. And everything that's going on right now is really just, we need to figure out how we can conduct these elections safely and securely with a team that is educated, because just as someone spoke before, one of my friends who was a poll worker almost got criminally charged for just an accidental thing because she didn't know the rules. We're supposed to be educated on what we're to do, and how are we, everything that happened last time, we didn't know. We had no idea what was going on. We need to focus on education. We need to have a team, a staff, or at least a body to call on to help run the elections and the polls, and who understand it's a lot of legalities involved. And on top of that, we don't need any more changes. We need to stop discriminating against people like me who are Christian, who are a poll worker. I'm being dragged through the mud on this media and everything else. And, you know, we simply submitted petitions because we want to get to the bottom of what happened. And it's fair. That's it. We're just, listen. I'm not a cyber terrorist, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cobb. Next up, Jennifer Woods.
Can you hear me okay with my mask on?
I think so.
Okay.
Is everybody- Yep.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Jennifer Woods. I live at 800 Peach Blossom Court in Griffin. And I've lived in Spalding County for 8.5 years now. And I can see that this community is more diverse than the community that I came from in Florida. And it also has a different kind of makeup of the kind of work that people do who live here. And I think that that makes it necessary for us to allow voting on Sunday because many people who live here work more than one job. They are gig workers. They don't have the luxury of working from 9 to 5 or 8:30 to 5, Monday to Friday. They don't necessarily get a couple hours off in the middle of the day to go vote on a Tuesday. And so I want us to be the kind of community that is as inclusive as we can possibly be. And I don't think this is, should not be a question of money. This should be a question of, are we really making this opportunity to vote accessible to all of our residents, all of our registered voters? And I also want to say that we don't all celebrate the Sabbath on Sunday. And so for those of us who do not, we would have to go and vote perhaps on our Sabbath. And I really think that no matter what faith you practice, that your higher power is saying to you, you need to be a responsible neighbor, a responsible citizen, and you need to do your part. And if that means that you go vote after you leave church, then that's how it is. Am I supposed to stop? Anyway,
That's somebody
thank you.
else's ringtone.
Should I press a button and say hello, answer? Anyway, I just
put it-
really want to know that now I live in a community that is inclusive and not exclusive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If whoever's phone, could you please turn it off? Okay. All right, very good. It went to voicemail, I guess, right? That could be the conference call if we're at 6:45. Well, we're, yeah.
Can we ask them to hold?
Where do they set the phone? Which side do they set the phone up on? Bear with us for just a second. We've got somebody from Dominion calling in for something later on the agenda. We still have 4 more for public comment, so we're gonna make sure we take care of everybody that signed up for public comment, but we want to make sure we get them on and on hold. So. I know Mike was bringing a phone in, but I don't know where. Yeah, Yeah, that is the speaker phone. I can see it from the angle. And I'm assuming he put it right there, so it would be by the mic. Mike put it by the mic. All right, apologies, y'all. Next up is Susan Swanson.
Good evening. I'm Susan Swanson at 444 Goldenrod Court in Sun City. Thank you all for this opportunity to speak. I won't take a full 3 minutes. I just want to add to the comments tonight that I'm too a proud Christian woman, and I can't think of a more Christian activity than voting on Sunday in a democratic society. And I don't dispute that transparency and integrity are of utmost
I'm sorry,
importance.
we'll give you your time back. Let us grab this.
Okay.
Grab this and put them on hold.
Do you want me to leave?
No, maybe you just stay right there. Let her answer. We'll bring you right back. I apologize. Here we go. Hello.
It's wonderful when it works.
Hello, yes.
Is this Bo? Bo? Is this Bo or Charles?
This is Charles. Barry and I are trying to get in.
Hey, okay, you're where you need to be. Hold on
Okay.
just 1 second, okay?
We're still taking public comments. As soon as we get the agenda approved, we'll make sure you guys are first up. But we're gonna put you on mute until, the proper time, okay?
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good. Let me reach out to Barry. He was having trouble getting in, so let me try to reach out to him.
Okay, thank you.
Charles, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, I'm sorry about that. It shouldn't bother you. Carry on.
Carry on. That's easy for a good Navy veteran to do. So as I was saying, I don't dispute transparency and integrity, that they're of utmost importance, but that should be regardless of what day you vote, to include Sundays. And if we're going to examine Sunday voting because of our Christian beliefs, I personally believe our liquor stores should be closed, our gun range should be closed, or at minimum, not open until 12, where we're listening to it first thing at 8 o'clock in the morning. And that, let's re-examine football, because I know that's a religion in itself.
Please, everybody.
But that's a sport where people are just inflicting bodily harm to others. Is that what our God wants? So anyway, and when it comes to volunteering, I'll be glad to volunteer as a poll worker on Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, any day of the week to include Sunday. And basically, that's all I have to say. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, and sorry for the interruption there. Okay, next up, James Dutton.
I thought for sure he was calling about our car's extended warranty. My name's James Dutton. I live at 508 Brook Circle here in Griffin. I want to start by just saying how excited and extremely proud I am to see this kind of a turnout, both from people that think like I do and people who don't. This is so important to come out and share this sort of stuff. Don't forget, this isn't the only board here in town. All of us would love to have this kind of a turnout of people who agree with us and people who disagree with us every single time. Please get involved. The two most important duties we have in our republic is voting and it is jury duty. That's why these sorts of meetings are so important. And I agree with Quimby earlier. We gotta end some confusion. So I've heard some stuff said tonight that wasn't true, and I want to specifically talk about that first. First, the idea that some of the things that were sent to people weren't ballots, that's probably true. That said, I have a picture on my phone, I would love to share it with you, of 12 ballots sent to one voter here, one voter family here in Griffin. That is evidence that I have that was brought to my office to be part of further investigations. Those criminal complaints are being followed up on right now. It's sort of like a duck on a pond. It looks like it's calm and moving, but under that water there's a bunch going on. That is still happening today. That includes the evidence that was taken by the sheriff's CSI team that night in a dumpster. I want to talk to that. I did not go into a dumpster. I've never gone into a dumpster. That's an absolute lie. If you want to know exactly what happened that night while I was there, as soon as I exited my car, I began to live stream it to Facebook. And only seconds before I got back into my car did I end that live stream. It's an uneditable video that went live to Facebook. It's still there now. You can see everything that happened while I was there. What you don't see is anyone beating on windows, pulling on doors, no threats, no crowds, no pitchforks, no torches. That didn't happen. I have it on video. Now, if you believe that and those lies, what other lies that you've been told do you believe? Because those are demonstrably and very easily proven false. There is literal video evidence that that's false, and yet it still persists 2 years later tonight. What other things are you being told? Are you being lied to about? I was the SGA president at Georgia State. When I was there, we discovered that there was a dean who was embezzling a bunch of money. And we decided as the students to do an audit of that money. And that dean went through the roof. How dare you think about doing this? You can't look at these numbers. Absolutely not. There's nothing to see here. And to quote Shakespeare, methinks she doth protest too much. That dean is now no longer employed, thank goodness, and that hundreds of thousands of dollars that was being embezzled has now been returned to circulation back with the students. That is what's going on here. Why should we not look at it? Why not take a look at this and do this audit? Methinks they do protest too much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Sharon King, you're up next.
Can you guys hear me okay with my mask on?
I believe so.
Okay. Sharon King, 143 Cumberland Road. I'm here to speak on the dissertation that was released on Facebook by the chair on behalf of the Board of Elections. I know you had someone ghostwrite it, so I'm also talking to them, whoever that may be. Now, I'm not the lawyer in the room, but I would like to point out some of the flawed logic of your dissertation. Quote, those claiming that black voters in Spalding County are incapable of voting on the available and mandated advanced early voting days or on election day are insulting the intelligence of the group of Spalding County voters for whom they claim to speak. Now, I'm not sure how asking for more access to the polls is insulting anyone's intelligence, but what I do think it creates is an uncomfortable truth. There have been plenty of black voices asking for Sunday voting, but you seem to have ignored and mocked them while choosing to focus on the white noise. Quote, if Spalding County Board of Elections did vote to add Sunday voting based on the justification of being beneficial to one specific racial demographic of voters, then that in itself would be a violation of our oaths and blah, 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 blah. Just want to make sure that I understand the logic of this board and your ghostwriter. You're saying it's insulting to think black voters need Sunday voting, but in the same breath are stating that if they did, you wouldn't do anything for them because it's catering to black voters. And with that same logic, recognizing the need of Sunday voting for black voters, but not fulfilling that need, is by default catering to white voters. Also in this ghost-written dissertation, you stated that the board rejected Sunday voting because it wasn't deemed necessary. But I attended your September meeting, and the majority of the board claimed that $1,000 and long staff hours was too much to give to all of Spalding County voters. You claim to take this oath for. Speaking of previous meetings, one of your board members asked for the previous chair's resignation when he claimed that she went before the County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Board of Elections without the approval of the board. We are watching to make sure that this board member keeps that same energy since the chair released a statement on social media on behalf of the board without the vote of the board, because if you don't, you've proven us right.
Thank you, Sharon. Next up, Dr. Yashonda Jones.
Dr. Yashonda Jones. So let's talk about some real cold hard truths under all this propaganda. The real reason for SB 202 and HB 769 was that a candidate lost, and instead of accepting defeat, a strategic machine of lies was launched to undermine the will of the people. Hence, the hostile takeover of the Spalding County Board of Elections, compliments of Karen Mathiak, David Knight, and Marty Harbin. Sunday voting wasn't just created to serve one demographic. It was in place for anyone that wanted the convenience of voting on Sunday. It just so happens that Black people were the majority of the citizens that took advantage of Sunday voting. It just so happens that Black people overwhelmingly voted for Joe Biden. And when the Spalding County Board of Elections was given the task of voting in favor of or against continuing Sunday voting, you voted against it. A blatant white supremacist move, chess move. The world is watching. This dumpster fire, as it is, and most of you choose to continue to dive in and offer yourselves as kindling instead of upholding the oath you took. We continue to watch you thumb your nose at the truth and wipe your behinds with the Constitution. It's quite funny when these lies are on record and you're acting in the capacity of furthering of governance in your duties as board members. For example, at last month's meeting, it was explicitly stated that there was a file on Attorney General Chris Carr's desk waiting for him to decide if criminal charges would be pursued against Marcia Ridley. However, in the dissertation posted to Facebook, it was stated that the Attorney General nor the Secretary of State's office has chosen to take any action. So which one is it? Let's give a couple of terms and definitions here. Acting in your official capacity and acting under color of law. Conspiracy to deprive a person of their civil rights while acting under color of law is a violation of federal statutes 42 U.S.C. 1983 civil and 18 U.S.C. 242 criminal. Continuing to make false statements while acting in your official capacity and formulating policy based on clearly false pretenses and disproven claims could be construed as violations of your oath of office and subject you to liability under state and federal law. I'm sure Chris Carr and Merrick Garland are interested to hear your statements, which are now on the record. Your QAnon fantasies are seeping over into our reality, and that is dangerous.
Point of order.
It's obvious why the focus is on the 2020 election and not any of the other elections before. Joe Biden is president, so it's time to rip the Band-Aid off and deal with it. The fact that you wear your QAnon and Big Lie badges so proudly should be grounds for you to be removed from the chairmancy and the board.
Roy.
The First Amendment does not protect false information.
Not allowed, and
Government
this was
officials,
told in advance.
government officials do not have special protection
Your time is up,
under
Dr.
the First
Jones.
Amendment and owe a duty to the public to speak the truth.
Your time is up.
And other
Dr.
people
Jones.
were allowed to keep speaking, so I'm going to finish. Candidates and government officials are two different capacities. Once you assume office and owe the duty you swore in your
Your
oath, you are no longer free to offer, act, or act according to your opinion. We stand on the shoulders
Your
of our
time is
ancestors,
up, ma'am.
but we are not them. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Please.
Choose your tools
you guys
of intimidation, harassment, and voter suppression wisely. We will continue to fight back.
Your time is up. Thank you. Goodbye.
Other people were allowed to speak. I got this right here. Just a minute.
Her time is up.
Other people were allowed to continue to speak after their time was up, so I'm going to finish.
Other people didn't make personal attacks.
I didn't say any names.
Please.
For you to dismiss. Okay, thank you. For you to dismiss the valid claims
ma'am,
of
you need to step
harassment
down or
from
we're
the
gonna have to
prior
clear the
board
room.
members is disgusting. I can see
Ma'am.
how you would allow to dismiss these forms of harassment
Please
and
do y'all's
intimidation.
jobs.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Mhm. Okay. And just remember that these same Trump voters you defended called these election staff and members black bitches and niggers. We will continue to fight back.
All right. Thank you. Yep, she actually was last, so, we need to adopt the agenda fairly quickly. We've got some amendments, since we've got Dominion on. if, I guess in the interest of expediency, I'm just going to, read the items that I had down to be, added, in no particular order. And, if we can vote on those, and then if there's any additional items that need to be added, we can add them after that. Everybody okay with that?
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
We have some items to amend the agenda. We have to adopt the agenda before we can talk to Dominion, because they're on the agenda.
What are you wanting to add?
So we have discussion of, we have, updates on facilities. So Roy has some updates on, his facilities report. We additionally have, we've got Dominion. Do we have Dominion on there? Yep, we've got that on there. That's on the next page. Discussion of hiring a PR firm. And then we additionally have requested by Stephanie an executive session to discuss pending or potential litigation, which would be inserted after board member comments.
Question, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
One of the agenda items previously submitted was Sunday voting?
It is on there. Yeah, it's already on there, so it's there.
It's not clear the order of things happening.
Correct. Our parliamentarian, we've got Dominion on hold, so, we'll be handling Dominion first, which they're currently, number 7. So we'll be doing that first.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, if we could move Dominion extended warranty discussion to after adoption of the agenda, followed by the discussion of Sunday voting, which is currently on the agenda.
Right.
Then follow that with Mr. McLean's report.
And then the discussion of, contracting with a PR firm.
So following Mr. McLean's report,
Since-
discussion of contracting with a PR
Since this
firm.
is a special call meeting for these things already on the agenda, can't we move those things to our regular meeting? Because we've been talking about this facility thing for months. If you can move that to our regular meeting, since this is a special call meeting.
So this, point of clarification, the manner by which this meeting was called, due to notice, was special called, but this is our regular monthly meeting. It's occurring on the appointed day and time of our regular monthly meeting. Even though it's just called that. I don't know if you want to
And
clarify.
board members, I would respectfully request an executive session to discuss pending and potential litigation. That is very important, and I was not aware of the need for that prior to the publishing of this agenda. So if we could add that after board member comments, I would appreciate that. And we were just a day late in the notification of this meeting pursuant to House Bill 769, which is why we had to publish it as a special call meeting.
And yes, additionally, the other discussions should be quite short.
Okay.
And we are all interested, I'm sure, in getting out of here tonight. So, at a timely hour. So, do we hear a motion to adopt the agenda as
Make such a
amended?
motion.
Roy?
I'll second it.
Second. Thank you, Alfred. All in favor? Aye. All right, very good. Thank you all very much. Okay, so I hope this works. Dominion, I'm assuming this is how they've been doing it. I'll make a full of. Yeah, I've got it on mute. Would you sit down? Not quite that skinny. So, yep. All right, Dominion, y'all here? Okay, so let me, we're having to rig a microphone up to a speakerphone, so if you wouldn't mind doing a sound check.
All right.
Can everybody hear? Let's do one more. Will you sing us a song? Joking. Just speak normally.
This is Barry with Dominion.
Okay. Everybody. Okay. All right. I got all nods now. I didn't have all nods before. So, very good. All right, thank you for joining us remotely. We apologize for the short notice. I understand that we received some notifications that were, I suppose, time-limited offers. Kim, would you like to share where, I guess, the offer and the amount for the warranty is? I don't know if you got that right there in front of you, but or if Dominion, if you guys have the quote in front of you, so we can get that on record of what you guys are offering at this point.
Aaron, are you there?
Kimberly, this is Barry Heron, and then Charles is on the line as well. We're on
Okay.
2 different locations, but we're both on.
So if you would just please review the extended warranty and the offer that Dominion is making.
All right. Dominion is making an offer. The history, brief history is that the first 2 years of the state contract between the state and Dominion Building Systems was paid for by the state. And the hardware extended warranty program was relegated to be paid by the counties if they so elected, beginning on January 1, 2022. So we've been communicating with counties all across the state, and we have about 106 or so that have obligated to join the extended warranty program so that there's no lapse in coverage from the state program terminating on December 31st, 2021, and our program beginning on January 1, 2022. So Spalding County's inventory of voting equipment includes 192 ICX BMD touchscreens. It includes 23 precinct scanners. It includes 1 central scanner and 1 mobile ballot printer. The total of those 4 items at their respective rates, annual rates, is $31,045 per year. Now, when Dominion found out that the counties would be the ones funding the extended warranty.
Excuse me, let me ask one question. When originally in our budget, this amount was, I think, 28,000 something. Do you guys have? I'm assuming there's a reason for the increase, but if you could touch on that.
Well, I can't comment on where or how your budget was constructed for an amount of 28,000, but I will tell you that the 4 items that are covered, there was a $10 per unit increase in the extended warranty for the ICX BMD from $125 to $136, actually $11. But that increase was justifiable because we are including a free toner per year for every one of your 192 units. And toner is priced separately today at $165 per toner.
How
So the
many
county
how many pages does a toner cartridge print in these
over
printers?
2,000.
Okay, thank you.
So we are putting together the plans right now to deliver toner to all the counties under the program in March of this spring. But you'll have a free toner. Well, so the value of the toner itself would far exceed the total contracted value of the 4 items covered. The scanner that's currently covered at $146 each was originally 135 under the state contract, but due to the high volume and negotiation that went on in that state contract, we felt that a fairer price was $146. The central scanner was priced at $1,500 warranty. We reduced that to $1,200 warranty, and the mobile ballot printer was originally priced at $375, and we maintained at $375. So there's a little bit of variance. Maybe you said $28,000. The quote was $31. Let's say $3,000, but it includes over $30,000 of free toner every year that you're under contract for no additional price. Plus, any county that joins the extended warranty program and covers the ICX BMDs will be able to buy additional toner if necessary at a price of $75 per toner, when the current price that we're selling it for to non-participating counties is $165 each. So there's serious economic benefit to becoming a member of the program.
So does Spalding County have any choice whatsoever in terms of, contracting with any other firm besides Dominion for these services, like Dell, who manufactures much of your hardware?
No, you do not. The certification process that is in place in Georgia for Dominion's the only certified voting system vendor in the state and the only one authorized to perform repair and maintenance services.
Okay, and who actually owns this equipment? Does Spalding County own this equipment?
That's an excellent question. I'm probably not capable of answering that. I'm not the attorney. I'm just the regional sales manager. But I believe that title was going to pass to the counties, but I do not know if that actually has happened yet.
Okay, Kim, can you find out the answer to that question, because that's been something that no one has been able to answer. I appreciate you trying to answer that. If I interrupted, please carry on, or if any other board members have questions. Okay. No? Made me ask all the questions? Okay. All right, any closing comments, Dominion folks?
The only comment I would make is that, the program it began on January 1, and we extended the date to join through the end of January, and then we had some counties such as yourself that we were hoping would come on board. So it's February 8th, but we still would welcome you with open arms if you guys decide to join. So we hope that you do.
Yeah, yes, sir. We really appreciate the patience. We've had some conversations, and there's still just a lot of lack of clarity around how really any of the counties in Georgia are actually contracted with the Secretary of State's office or with Dominion, and who owns what. And I personally just kind of have an issue with buying an extended warranty on items that don't belong to the county and paying for that. So I'd love to get an answer from the Secretary of State's office. If this equipment actually becomes ours, that would make me much more interested in buying the extended warranty on it. I think there was a joke made earlier about a phone ringing and it being a car warranty salesman. So how ironic. Gentlemen, anything else?
Not on that.
Not on that. Okay. Okay. So really appreciate your time, and I'll walk over and hang up. I guess Kim will let you know the results of our discussion tonight. And is there a drop dead date in terms of, you mentioned welcoming us with open arms. we meet once a month, unless we meet more than that, but by default, it's once a month. This is our regular meeting. You know, we may or may not get to a decision tonight because, I'd really like to find out, you know, who owns the equipment that we're, having to use to count votes. Because I think that's kind of reasonable. So, like, do we have a month? Do we have a week? What kind of timeline are we on here?
I would say we should have this wrapped up by the end of February because we're in negotiation with the provider of the scanners and the printers for mass delivery to the state of all counties in March. So we're kind of in a logistic time frame, more so than a legal time frame. But I would think if you guys are interested, we could extend it to the end of February, but probably no longer.
Okay, thank you. So wait a minute, you said that there's logistic concerns around delivery of printers and scanners?
No, delivery of the toner.
Oh,
for
the
printer.
toner, okay, toner, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, we've negotiated a pretty nice situation with the toner manufacturer to offer this incentive to counties.
Okay,
So-
and just to be clear, the calculation of the value of the toner was exactly how much? I think you threw out the number.
If you were not on the program and you ordered toner, it would be priced at $165 per toner. And that would be, if you bought a toner for each of your 192 touchscreens, you would be paying a little over $31,000 just for toner, and yet you can spend not quite that much and cover all 4 of your main pieces of equipment in the extended warranty program.
Okay, so essentially you're saying it would end up being a wash based off of the toner that we would be buying anyway.
Yeah, and then if you did have repair and maintenance issues, you'd have to pay for repair and maintenance of those items on top of the toner price.
Okay, I'm clear on that. Did that bring up anything else? Okay. Really appreciate you taking the time and explaining this to us. That was much more clear than the one-page kind of quote. And I think we understand the value proposition a lot better now. I'm going to walk over and.
I assume that this is Chairman Johnson that we're speaking with?
I apologize. This is Chairman Johnson.
Well, enjoyed talking to you, and Charlie and I will answer any questions Kimberly has whenever. So we hope you guys just come on board.
Y'all, I mean, so everybody has been very responsive, and we really appreciate it. So I guess we will be in touch as soon as we can all come to a consensus.
Sounds good, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please feel free to reach out to us anytime.
All right, thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Charles.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
I have something I want to say. as soon as
Yeah, so we're, so are they're hung up, right? Okay, very good. So go ahead, Jay.
We're talking about toner.
Well,
We have to
so
adopt agenda before we go into that.
You did.
we did adopt the agenda, yes, sir. So, and this was first because they were hanging on the line, as
Okay.
Toto said.
Or at least what they're holding out in front of us is toner.
So the warranty is for the ballot marking devices, the ICP, the ICC, the EMS. Those are the 4 main pieces of equipment.
Right.
Plus the printers that are attached, you know, to the ballot marking
I understand
devices.
that, yeah.
That's what I'm making sure
But
everybody
he's
else does
saying
too.
that his toner is 160, how much?
169, 179.
Without this warranty, right?
Without the warranty.
Is this the only place we can buy toner?
That's the secretary.
This is my question. I don't pay that much for toner, do you?
The Secretary of State, so it is normal toner, I have verified that.
Yeah.
We do print on.
Please hold it down.
We do print on Secure Vote paper.
Right.
Made by Roland.
That's a different case, yes.
That has, infrared responsive, maybe saying the wrong word here, but infrared responsive threads in it.
Yeah.
That's what makes it secure. That costs about $0.05 a page. And there's one, I think there's 2 vendors for that aren't Dominion. But yes, he absolutely said that, you know, toner as well as any repairs, any warranty repairs, we have to buy through them.
We have to buy toner for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, from the standpoint of looking at it straight from money, it's basically like if we're buying toner, we might as well get the warranty. I mean, you know, it's a wash. But my main, you know, the burr in my saddle about it is that we, you know, we are buying a warranty on equipment that, you know, we don't own. I'm highly encouraged by his comment that they apparently must be talking about that. I mean, my suggestion is we find out if that's true, false. Roy?
Mr. Chairman, until we have it in writing, it's a salesman making a statement. So I'd like to see it in writing from either the Secretary of State's office or Dominion that in fact that equipment's going to be transferred to Spalding County. Again, until that happens, we're putting gasoline in somebody else's car that we're not driving necessarily, so.
Agreed. Jim, do you have a comment?
Yes, that sounds like a political issue to me, that the state has pushed the expenses down to the county for equipment they own. So it doesn't sound to me like it's a Dominion issue. It sounds like it's a state and a county issue.
But we'll find out when Kim finds out who actually owns the equipment. That's our question right now. Do we own the equipment or does the state own the equipment?
Correct. And then I'm not sure if the free toner offer was actually on the last quote?
Yes.
That was, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so.
But the state owns the equipment. Now, whether there is something in the works to do what he is speaking of, to get handed over or sign it over to the county, I do not know. I would think that if it has been done, I would have been notified.
I don't think it's been done yet, but, right, I mean, we didn't know there was a new voter registration system until it was live as well, so, we haven't been really notified, with much notice of a whole lot that the Secretary of State's office has done. I guess the other, just last comment is that with the House bill and Senate bills that no one in the whole room are happy with, for multiple reasons, you know, and with the races we had this year, I mean, are the machines gonna be here in a year? You know, it is a year warranty. It's not like a 3-year warranty. But, I mean, I think that's something, just being real here, that, you know, we don't know that. We don't know what, as Jim said, the politicians, the legislature, and the Secretary of State, you know, what they're gonna decide.
So we need to go out to our representatives and tell us something. Don't leave us hanging like this. Secretary of State's office and our representatives who represent this whole county.
They probably don't know.
Yeah, and
They ought to know.
Yes, sir. Okay, so I'm not hearing
So
any.
Kim is gonna contact the state, right?
Kim's gonna, I guess, the Hail Mary to find out if we own the stuff or not.
Mr. Chairman, would it help if we table this discussion a month until we're able to figure out what the Secretary of State's or the, is gonna happen with this ownership of the equipment?
That puts us past his deadline.
Just saying, we gotta do it by the end of February.
I'm sorry, I
We,
couldn't hear the attorney.
we only have 20, according to their deadline, we only have 20 days.
But we could, in fact, come back with an emergency meeting.
We could. We could.
I'm not ready to pass judgment on this issue tonight until we get something in writing. I don't trust the salesman's pitch at this point. Trying to give us a great deal to get us to sign on the dotted line for something that we may not even need.
I agree that the dollar amount sound contrived.
It is not, it's not an action item on the agenda, so it's not something that you have to table. You can just bring it up at a future meeting.
Okay.
It was just on, as a discussion item on the agenda.
Thank you.
I agree, I'd like to put it off too.
Okay, so we can actually just move on to the next, to the next item on the agenda, which is, discussion of Sunday voting for the 2022 midterm elections. Jim, I'm assuming you'd probably like to start here.
I would. First, I'd like to thank you for your patience. I think we're setting the world record for
Will
election board meeting.
you get a little bit closer to the mic for the
Certainly.
folks?
I am the board member that made the comment, in the best of my memory, about a national spam attack. On the next day, Ben approached me by email and asked me about it, and I admitted that it wasn't my best choice of words, and for that I apologize. My concern was not with the residents of Spalding County. I think I and every member of this board agree that we want to pay attention to you, listen to you, and act on your behalf. However, when I saw 1,940 people from all over the country, I didn't feel that we had any accountability. So if I've offended you in any way, I apologize, and I hope that you will forgive me because I have your best interest at heart. I'd like to talk a little bit about Sunday voting. On September the 14th, I presented part of the bill, and the reason I did that was to point out that Senate Bill 202 does not prohibit Sunday voting. In fact, it permits it. And I'd like to quote from the law, because quoting from the law is different from paraphrasing. The law says, if the registrar or absentee ballot clerk so chooses, and in our case, it's the election board, the second Sunday, the third Sunday, or both the second and the third Saturdays prior to the primary election during the hours are determined by the registrar or absentee ballot clerk. It's in their discretion. Tonight, I'd like to point out a different part of the law that's often overlooked because it's in the preamble. In Section 5, it says, requiring 2 Saturday voting days and 2 optional Sunday voting days will dramatically increase the total voting hours for voters across the state of Georgia. And all electors in Georgia will have access to multiple opportunities to vote in person on the weekend for the first time. I take time to point that out because this speaks to intent. The legislators want to increase voting. Now let's look a little closer. There's nothing in the law that speaks about wait time. That's very interesting. And no specific ethnic group is cited. It's all electors. For the last 4 election board meetings, we've had citizens of Spalding County advocating for Sunday voting. I'm saying it's time to listen to them, and it's time to act on their behalf. If we don't, what is the cost? What is the fallout from not approving Sunday voting?
Thank you, Jim. Yes, sir.
Could I say a few words now?
The floor is yours.
Okay. There's a lot of emotion, a lot of politics in this issue, and I'm not interested in either one. I don't care about the emotion, I don't care about the politics, I care about our employees, I care about our electors, and the Board of Elections doing the right thing. That's all I care about. I have questions. Are we staffed for, how many straight days would it be, 14? 14 straight days of voting.
Do we have the resources? Whatever kind of resources it takes, machines, people, funding. And my third question is, how many people are going to vote in the primary? Because we're talking about the primary. We're not talking about the November election. Are we expecting 80% of the voters, 50%, 20%? The last election, we had 14, am I right?
It was 8%, was
8%?
that was
8%.
the turnout last time?
The last
That was
election,
in
we
the
had
city,
8%?
that was in the city election.
That was municipal, well, it's countywide, T-Splosh, and,
Right.
5 municipal seats, I believe.
So I would like an answer on the staffing, on the resources, and on the expected turnout before I vote for this. And for that reason, I move that we table this question until we get these answers.
Okay, move to table, do we need a motion to table? Do we need a second? Okay. I'd really love to hear what Kim has to say.
Okay.
Would you mind?
Well, that's what I want to know, is what Kim has to say.
Would you mind?
I will withdraw until after we hear from Kim.
Okay. Kim, what, I know you've already been looking into everything, so if you wouldn't mind sharing where you are?
I'll share where I am at this moment. I started looking into it yesterday. I pulled the 2000, you can't hear. Is that better? No?
Louder.
Can y'all hear?
I mean, it's green.
I'm old and hard of hearing, you have to bear with me a little
Hello?
bit.
You can hear? Okay.
Maybe it's just me.
Okay. So I started looking into this Monday and pulled the 2018 general primary file. Unlike when we were able to look at the percentage of turnout for 2017 when we addressed early or advanced voting in 2017, we were able to actually pull that, and there was a summary report which stated your turnout and the percentage of advanced voting. When I pulled the 2018 information, it was not broken down that way. It's broken down by every individual race. It does not give me a total percentage of advanced voting. Now, can we figure it out? Probably so, but it's gonna take more time than I had anticipated. At the same time, we are in the process of interviews, had several interviews that day, and then some issues that we'll speak of later that came up all at the same time. So what I would like to do, I want to say just a few things in reference to Sunday voting. To get rid of something, something has to be established for a period of time and is always there. That is what, to me, and I think to most of us, get rid of means. There has never been any intention on my part, and I can't, or the board's part, to my knowledge, to get rid of Sunday voting. Sunday voting was never even established as an option until 2014. Sunday voting was never even opted for until I believe the year 2017-18. Sunday voting has only been used by the prior administration. That's okay, that was choice. Sunday voting was not used for every single election in the prior administration. Those are facts, whether we're for it, whether we're against it, those are facts, and facts need to be heard. So to say something is being rid of, or that intentions are there, are not true. But moving forward, I do want there to be knowledge of there are 17 days of advanced voting. That's 3 weeks, okay? There's also, beginning March 7th, you can begin requesting an absentee ballot. And I'm getting to answering your question, but I thought it very important to share these facts. March 7th, you can begin requesting an absentee ballot. Now, will they be ready yet? No, but you can begin requesting. You can request by fax, you can request by mail, You can pick up the phone and call our office, and we can mail you an absentee ballot application. So those options are there, and I just want to say those things because I'm passionate about our public and our voters and our citizens of Spalding County having correct information. Knowledge is a lot, and we have to base decisions on knowledge. What I would like to do is to be able to dig a little bit further into the information of 2018 to look at what the percentage turnout was. Is it going to be just like 2018? Probably not. That's something to look at. But I need more time to look at this information, to come to where we are in staffing, since we are still staffing at this moment, where we are in staffing, where we are in the numbers, and present that to the board is what I would like to do. So I ask you as the board to work with me on this and let me present that information to you. But I thought it very important to get that information out to our public. You do not have to have a reason to request an absentee ballot by mail. So that is important for people who that work different hours. They have that option. So we need to be truthful and for them to know that option is available to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. How much time do you think it would, are you talking a couple weeks or?
No more than 2 weeks, a week to
Okay,
to 2.
okay.
So by the end of next week, we have more interviews lined up for this week. We have voter registration audit going on at this time as well. So I will do my best and work as hard as I can.
Okay, so
to
that
get as quick
would,
as I can.
so that would coincide with needing to make a decision with the Dominion,
Mhm.
with the Dominion as well,
Right.
right? You've spoken.
Yep.
You've spoken. Alfred, do you have anything you want to
No, I'm
add?
good. I'm good with that.
You're good, okay. So, I mean, I'm not gonna dig into it much. I agree with James that we need to look at it with data and, out of fairness and, the 14th Amendment isn't blah, blah, blah. It actually is. Yep, okay, very good. So with that, I think James had a.
Is my motion in order now?
I think your motion would be in order now.
I move that we table this until it can be considered with the facts and that Kim can provide them for us. I'd like to give her the time to do that, so I move we table this agenda item until our next meeting, whether it is a special meeting or a regular meeting.
Has to be a special meeting.
Okay, so I would imagine it would be a special meeting due to the timeline. So, do we have a second on that?
I'll be happy to second it, certainly for discussion.
Okay?
There is no discussion
Oh.
on the motion
Yeah,
to
there's no
table.
discussion on the motion to
Okay.
table, so. Okay, so that's tabled. I'm at,
Need to vote?
well, sorry, no discussion. All in favor of tabling? Okay. All right, so any opposed?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so one opposed. Okay, and I would imagine that we would be, handling the Dominion as well as Sunday vote. And, I just want to go into all this with all of our eyes open and we're looking at the facts. And, I think one thing that everybody in here can agree on is no one in here can agree on anything. So I can make a joke. Not gonna stop me doing that. Speaking of me doing improper things, next up is discussion for, the board to contract with a PR firm. It's been recommended to me as well as the rest of the board by, our attorney that we go to the, Board of Commissioners, since there's such, intense interest in Spalding County for multiple reasons, for multiple board members. And additionally, that I know all of us have been contacted many, many times. Some of us have spoken, some of us have not. It was presented as an option to go to the Board of Commissioners and ask if we could get someone to take that weight off of our shoulders and make sure that no one mistakes anybody's opinions for the any sort of official position of the board. And I certainly do not want that to occur in the future.
So you're looking for a motion?
Would be looking for a motion to, I assume, ask the Board of Commissioners for funding to contract with a
With a
public
firm.
relations firm.
I'd make that motion.
We've got a motion from Roy. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second from James. Do we have any discussion?
Does the county have a PR person?
They do, and
Well, it's,
the county has a community engagement
There we go. Yes.
specialist. The community engagement specialist does not consider, this type of, political controversy, for lack of a better word, as within their area of expertise, and suggested a couple of other names, for possible folks that we could talk to.
Additionally, County Manager Ledbetter also was in favor of suggesting that we do this as well. Alfred, you had your hand up.
This is, our open records request, they wouldn't handle that, right?
No, sir,
No,
unfortunately not.
No, sir.
So they will be handling these personal attacks against this board.
Among other things.
I sure would like to see what among the other things are.
Well, I mean, so the non-personal attacks, I assume.
Well, we sure can pull some money out when we need it. We don't have any, but we can pull it out from somewhere.
Okay. So.
There is no guarantee that it will be
Yeah,
given
that,
if it is
yeah,
requested.
it doesn't mean that we're gonna get it by asking, but it was suggested that we do this. Do we have
So
any further?
Funding is an issue for Sunday voting. It's an issue in here. Is it coming out of our budget?
That's why we're going to.
This
be-
would, no, this would be
Yeah, this would
over
not
and
come out
above
of.
our budget.
Right.
And
It would be extra budgetary, I suppose.
for the record, we're way over our budget now. So every penny that we are essentially spending is coming from somewhere else. And there will be an accounting for that at some point, but as of right now, we've been asked to go to the county commission to see about getting funding for this position. And is everybody comfortable with that?
I'm not.
No.
No, I'm not.
Call for the question.
Okay, question's been called, all in favor? All opposed? 3-2, the motion passes. Roy, would you mind going to the next meeting?
Absolutely. So as part of the ongoing ad hoc committee report, I met with the county attorney and staff last week. Fortunately, I don't have my notes from that, but the broad general and Ms. Stephanie, if you could fill in where I leave blanks or holes. The bottom line of the conversation was the disposition of files and records and other documents that are currently in banker's boxes. Alfred and I have looked at some of those. What I found over in the county storage is much worse. There is no file plan. There is no naming convention. There's no way to be able to look at a box and tell what's inside. So the conversation was basically, if we go in and catalog and inventory those items, how would that look and how would that happen? The county attorney offered that sworn people from her staff would do the scanning and all of that work, that none of us would touch any of those documents. We could certainly observe, witness, and videotape the process so that there's no question about how that would work. But looking to get our own storage space, which will require a petition to the court.
The petition is actually ready to be filed, and that petition is just a blanket petition to unseal records, simply because there are lots of sealed boxes. We don't know what's in those boxes, as Alfred has witnessed. And I don't want us to be unsealing anything that actually is supposed to be a sealed record. Some of those boxes may just be taped shut, but I would prefer to have a court order allowing us to unseal so that we can get a proper inventory.
So two parts here. One is that court order in case things are sealed and we have to unseal them. We're covered there. The other bit is that it's shared space with the clerk of court, right?
That's correct.
Superior.
And, Superior Court, okay.
And it's our desire to move everything into a climate-controlled storage space for just the elections materials. And the clerk of Superior Court has already indicated that she has no issue with designating the county clerk, which would be Kathy Gibson, as the actual custodian of those records, and that they could be stored where we would ask her to store them. They just have to be available for grand jury review after 24 months.
And also open records review requests for information. Today, I don't know how many open records requests we have, and it doesn't much matter, but the bottom line is, there's no process that's expedient to be able to find a document to answer a request for information today. So establishing a naming convention, establishing a process for how those electronic files will be scanned and stored, and it would all be done by bonded, by the attorney's staff, county attorney's staff. So I don't know how we could be any more transparent or any more fair than all that. I'm quite happy not to have to lift and tote literally dozens, maybe 100 boxes that are just dumped in the floor.
And
I have a burly paralegal.
You have Burley, I'm sure he or she appreciates being called Burley. That's good, okay. Also, there was discussion that all of this would be captured on camera, from, one take, so there's no question about, anything happening, in
They'll
between.
be in stage makeup.
They'll be in stage makeup, okay, all right, you're making jokes now.
This is without a doubt a much-needed process improvement. We want to get better. This is something that helps us get better.
Yes.
And it's taken everybody working together, and it's taken, I know we're all tired of talking about it. I hear you, but we're making progress, and, it is.
Much of
getting
this
better.
is actually a legal process that we don't have any control over.
Right.
The county attorney is guiding us, giving us good advice on how to do this without getting in trouble later.
Correct. Okay, and so do we need a vote to authorize moving forward with this plan?
I would actually appreciate that
Okay.
approval from this.
Well, I would be happy to make a motion as it's coming from our committee to establish our own storage and a written process that the county attorney's office will follow to inventory and store these files, documents, and products. I think that covers everything.
I'll second.
In a separate climate control facility? Or
So do you need me to say that as well, that we'd expend funds to, okay. So if I could amend my motion to also secure storage facility that is climate controlled, and there would be some rental agreement that I assume the county would pay for, because we're over our budget anyway. To include that in my motion. Kathy, are you going to?
So, yeah, I think Jim had his hand up first, a second.
No,
You
I
did-
don't want a second.
We
haven't got a
we're
second
just-
yet?
we
Okay.
got a
Go ahead.
second. We got a motion and a second. Did you get the okay, you got
Thanks,
the motion.
Teresa.
We're good there. Discussion.
Does this include some kind of filing system, alphabetical by date?
Yes, and that'll be part of the written process and procedure will be to establish a naming convention.
Right.
And, for example, how the scanning will be done and how files would be able to be retrieved for open records request. So it's that whole encompassing piece. Right now, files are somewhat either on a shelf or they're in the middle of the floor. That just can't continue.
Which we put in the floor.
Yes, not the ones over there. We did.
And I mean, this is part of the, you know, I hope that other counties are years ahead of us on all of this, but from talking with some other ones, they're not. And I hope that we can be a playbook or a positive example, in terms of, being able to, lay hands on things for people seeking transparency, clarity, open records request, and be able to turn them around in a timely fashion, because right now we're just physically not able to. So, anybody have any further comments? All in favor? All right. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. No, now what? Yes, election supervisor report. Okay.
Okay.
You're
Thank
up.
you. I want to correct the date on the report is to February 8th for election supervisor report. Certification, I've completed the certification process required by election officials and voter registrars. Qualifying for May 24th, 2022 election, the qualifying fees for county offices have been set by the county commissioners and is set based on 3% of the base salary of the elected offices. County commission qualifying fee is $459.20. Solicitor fee has been set at $4,195.40. And a Board of Education member qualification fee is at $278.19. Qualifying for the upcoming May 24th, 2022 election begins on Monday, March the 7th at 9 a.m. and ends on Friday, March the 11th at 12 noon. Qualifying will be held at the Office of Elections and Voter Registration, 825 Memorial Drive. Those interested in qualifying may pick up their paperwork between the dates and times noted above, complete paperwork with notarization, and return to the Office of Elections and Voter Registration no later than 12 noon on Friday, March the 7th. No, excuse me, on Friday, March the 11th. Redistricting. An update on redistricting. I've been working with Steve Ledbetter, the county manager, and keeping abreast to where we are. The House bill for Spalding County Commission redistricting lines, along with Spalding Board of Education lines, has been passed in the House and is moved over to Senator Marty Harbin.
That was today, as I recall.
That is correct.
Okay, just to be clear.
Yep, for the Senate review. In consulting with County Manager Steve Ledbetter, our office should have redistricting lines in hand, hopefully no later than Tuesday of next week. Voter registration report, monthly report. This is from January the 1st through January 31st. Brand new registrations, that means to us, they didn't come from another county, they were just a brand new registration, are 76. Transferred from other counties into Spalding County is 247. Moved out of Spalding County, that means we would have canceled them due to moving out of Spalding County, is 106. Felons, 34. Moved out of state are 92. Voter registration audit. I will have a much more detailed report for you next time. I have several things I'm going to share here with you, but I can tell this has not been done in a very long time. So, as we're going through the voter registration audit process, we're finding different situations that then we need to continue to, that we sort of add to the list. Well, let's continue to look for this because this happened this time so let's keep our eyes open. So, but that just began this past week, on Tuesday of last week. I have 3 ladies who are poll workers that have been working through that process, but I will be acquiring more help to ensure that we can pick up the speed, but ensure that we're doing it correctly at the same time. But correct address not reflected on the card when compared to the computer printout, which is what is in our system, that was submitted is 356 thus far. That means when we're looking at their card in our physical file, we're looking at the computer printout, what's in the system, the notation was not made on their card as to their correct address. That's 356. Not on, go ahead.
We wait till the end.
That doesn't matter.
So,
You can go ahead.
to ask that question, is that a clerical error, or is that something that has to be reported to the Secretary of State's office?
It's a clerical error.
Okay.
Yes. Not on the computer list, 417. We are in the process, that means we have a card, but they're not on our list. Now, that doesn't mean, well, and you can sort of panic when you hear that, but we are breaking this down. We're in the process of doing that now. And what is happening is we're noticing that it is encompassing felon cards, people we had a note that were felons in the system, but the card was never pulled from the physical file and put over into the felon file, okay? So you have felons that were not moved. You have deceased that were not moved. You have moved out of county and moved out of state. So, and we're not finished, and so there may be other situations that we find. But as you can see, as I'm drawing this picture, you can tell the physical file has not been updated in a while. Voters were processed in the system, but not removed from, I think that went with what I said before, I apologize. We have found approximately 15 provisional voter registration cards where the voter actually already existed, but on election day, for some reason, they couldn't be found by the poll worker, or if they called the office. And I can't say they called the office, I don't know, I wasn't there. But, and so they went ahead and allowed them to complete a provisional voter registration card. The original card was not on file, but thankfully the image is out there, so we're going back and we're finding these images and actually printing their physical voter registration card, so it's there. And that is why those were directed to vote a provisional ballot. We have had to print approximately 35 voter registration cards where the record existed in the computer along with the card, but the card once again had not been printed for the physical file. So as I said, you can tell this is a tedious process. I just put this together really quick, to be honest, because it needs to be a lot more detailed. We are learning new issues to look for, and we will have a much more detailed report by next month, okay? Any questions on that? If you did not understand anything, please ask me. I know it was confusing.
Thank you for all that hard work. That doesn't sound like a very fun or easy job
No, and
there
just-
for you and the other
And just
ladies.
so the board's aware, this is taking, because we're still in the process of being staffed, we can't, the poll workers can't be expected to think as we think in the office because they've not been trained. They don't know what to look for. And we want this done right. So there are many things that are having to cross our path to answer these questions and to resolve the situation. So that is taking more time, which takes away from other things.
a lot of paperwork.
But it's very important and it needs to be done.
As far as understand, y'all keep finding additional things, to look for, but from a percentage, just rough standpoint of working your way through all the records, like ballpark?
I can't even say that right now, the percentage, honestly, Chairman, because I have one starting at the beginning, one at the end, and one's in the middle.
So they're
So-
they're all in different stages?
And
Okay.
that is when I can have a more detailed report
Okay.
for you all next time. And give you a percentage, okay, this is what
Okay.
we've accomplished. New voter registration system, the Secretary of State's office will be rolling out a new voter registration system on March the 15th. We have viewed several webinars already. There are more, which are planned. We have one more scheduled for this week, and there are more to come. There will actually be a class in Macon that will be coming up in March that we will attend, and one in Clayton that we'll attend as well. So this new voter registration is called Jarvis, but it's with a G. There is, we know already an advantage, we've seen some of it, that now when we have to, for the most part, when we request reports, they're generated overnight. And so we have to wait. That's not a good position for a county to be in when we're needing information at our fingertips right then. So therefore, this is going to be on demand. We'll be able to request, I don't think there'll be any reports that we'll have to wait overnight for anymore. So what we need, we'll be able to request, and it'll be on demand and be available to us. So,
On the topic of those reports, prior to August, when this board was essentially constituted, I requested a number of reports over the process of my time from December to that point, none of which were ever produced. So if we want to know, for example, how many machine failures we had on a particular day, or what wait times look like, or those kinds of data that we should be able to provide to the voters, any report that we ask for, I think what we need to do is come up with the reports that we want on a weekly or daily basis, and then you can just produce those for the board. I don't know why it was not, or why it was impossible to get that previously, but I asked numerous times in the minutes, on the record, and was never able to acquire any of that information.
right.
To
Now,
include wait
Jarvis,
times or machine
Well,
errors.
well, I
so-
mean, the voter registration,
Right, so
I'm gonna
two
refer-
different things, right?
Mhm.
Okay, sorry.
But that's okay. Voter registration system is not, which is ElectionNet right now,
Right.
will be Jarvis in the future. It's not going to retain computer failures or problems
No,
or
but
issues.
the information you provide to the board on a
Yes.
daily or weekly basis while we're doing either early voting or.
Sure, those things will be on demand. We won't
Okay.
have to, yes,
We'll
exactly.
give you a list of things that we want to be able to keep our finger on the pulse of, and we'll just produce those, and it should be seamless, and when people ask us questions about whatever part of the election, we'll be able to answer those based on having that information.
Or we should be able to have them published.
Sure,
And that's what we want to publish.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Addressing issues, as instructed by Chairman Ben Johnson at last month's meeting, I reached out to Dr. Yashonda Johns King and asked if she would let me back up, Dr. Yashonda Johns, and asked if she would email her concerns to me. As of date, I have not received that email, but I did want to address those concerns. I could not address all of them, and as you'll see in the following information, proper notice of the November 3rd, 2021 election, that took place before I began, I believe it's the call for the election. That took place before my employment began, so I can't answer to that. Griffin Daily News published incorrect advance voting early dates. I think we all remember that, made the headline, my heart dropped. And I contacted them as soon as possible. I actually received 3 phone calls, one from the publisher and then 2 from other employees there with the Griffin Daily News apologizing and just really, we're sorry that the error had taken place. So it was corrected, it made headlines the very next day, and they also stated in that article that that was due to their error. We had submitted before that information in regards to advanced voting. Those dates had been out there to the Griffin Daily News, and they were published correctly. So we're not sure. We're all human. make mistakes. I hate that it was that, but like I said, we corrected it, we addressed the issue, and it was corrected as very best as possible. Our office giving out incorrect absentee information, I could not address this issue as well because I needed more specific information. I can assure the public that we work hard to follow the law and relay correct information to each and every person. If ever there's a question in regards to information about absentee information, someone's unsure and they want to question, I'm more than welcome those questions because I am more than glad to look in, and if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. If I need to correct an issue, I'll correct it. So, but we do the very best, all of our staff does, to follow the law and to provide the correct information that's needed. Confirmation of individuals' information heard within earshot on one particular day of advanced voting. I have absentee voting, but it was advanced voting. That was another issue that was addressed, and it will not happen again. Missing candidate on ballot. I cannot address this as to more specific information is needed. I can assure the public again, all candidates who qualified were listed on the ballots, and we did not receive any complaints from voters as to the candidates' names on their ballots. Poll worker training misinformation. Again, unless I have specific information as the poll worker training that took place, I cannot address that, but I would be more than glad to if approached with that information. Cameras. Cameras were only used to ensure security after the advanced voting was closed for the day, during the time of after closing and before opening. And that was for the security of the election equipment because it was not within our office. Our office has a security system. The Hall of Fame did not. So we were doing our utmost best to protect the citizens of Spalding County's voting equipment. Notice of minutes. That has been addressed, and all minutes are loaded onto the elections webpage. It should be up to date. I also spoke with Representative Kara Mathiak on her concerns after the last meeting and verified that the election that she was referring to in her statements was indeed the November 2020 election, not 2021. Therefore, there was not any following up to conduct in regards to that. Interviews. I conducted 2 interviews on yesterday and we'll conduct 2 more on tomorrow. I feel confident that the election system coordinator position will be filled by the end of the week. I want to amend my report to include Easy Vote. You all received an email in regards to Easy Vote. Hold on just a minute.
Stephanie, do you want to handle the description of that, or
No, I actually think that,
she should?
yeah.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Sheet. Oh, no, okay.
Would you tell us what
Okay.
Easy Vote is before we get started?
Oh, yes. Easy Vote is a software program. You can opt to use it, you can opt not to. Some counties do, some counties don't. They're not just in the state of Georgia, they're across the nation. Easy Vote, to my knowledge, because when I reviewed Easy Vote, had Greg Whitten with Easy Vote to come in after I became employed as election supervisor. Easy Vote was mainly used, to my knowledge, for advanced voting and absentee voting. It's where you enter the information. It is approved by the state, but it's basically the voter registration files or absentee information is uploaded to there, to Easy Vote. And then that software program is utilized to keep up with it. I think the reason these are my thoughts, because the state's program was lagging behind, it was slower, that counties began opting to use it as well because it was faster. It was speeding up the process. My take on it after looking at it was that, and it's twice the work, whatever you did in Easy Vote, you had to do in the Electionette, which is your voter registration system. You had to do it in both places. That was twice the work, and to me, it opened room for errors. So I did not opt to use Easy Vote after I came aboard. So yesterday, I was contacted by Greg Witten with Easy Vote and notified of a security incident. And after speaking with him for a period of time, he did let me know that it was the last file that was uploaded to to Easy Vote. That last file uploaded was dated June the 1st of last year. In that upload was 50,353 voters. What I have been informed of is that it was the full date of birth that was compromised, that was out there. This is still under investigation, and this is Easy Vote. This is not a Spalding County issue, and or it is a Spalding County issue, but it is not something that happened on Spalding County's behalf. This happened with Easy Vote. They have issued a statement, and that will be out on our website. You're more than welcome to read over that. And of course, we will give any additional information as it's forthcoming. Did I answer everything?
I think so, that it reads like they're still in the middle of active incident response, and, you know,
Yes.
they have left room, you know, in their statements for, you know, there to be other things. So as soon as we know, we'll let everybody else know, so. June 2021 was prior to you starting, correct?
Yes, it was
Okay.
June 1st, 2021. I believe
Okay.
was the date. We've got the screenshot. It was the
And-
beginning of June of 2021 that the file was uploaded. I'm not really sure why, unless they were preparing, previous administration was preparing for the upcoming municipal election. I don't know. I do know that, you know, I went into Easy Vote, and I've never been into Easy Vote before, other than what Mr. Witten showed us when he came last year. But I went into it while he was over the phone and was able to see the last file that was uploaded, and that was the one.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that concludes.
So one more question, if I may. Just to be clear, you have no ability to post the minutes or anything on our website. We're at the mercy of someone at the county actually putting that information on our website. Once you get it to them, they post it on our website.
That's correct.
Okay.
That was Kathy Gibson's, but at one time, but that's changed hands, and so, anyway, yeah. No, the Office of Elections and Voter Registration has no control over it getting posted. It is my responsibility, though, to make sure they have what they need to be posted.
Anyone have any further questions for Kim? Okay, thank you, Kim, for the very detailed, report and everything else that you do. Next up, board member comments. I guess we'll start down the end.
No, I have nothing for tonight.
You have nothing?
I have nothing.
Alfred?
I'm all talked out.
I'm surprised. James?
There's been some talk about an audit as though we could audit ourselves. We cannot do that. Nobody can audit themselves. If there is ever going to be an audit of a Spalding County election of any kind, it needs to be by a third party. It needs to be by somebody that all parties who are concerned agrees to, so that the outcome of the audit will be in the daylight and will be transparent and will help to clear up the voter confusion in Spalding County. I'm neither advocating an audit nor speaking against one. I'm just informing the public that this board cannot audit itself, that it would have to be a third-party audit.
Okay.
Which will cost.
Good point. Kim, go ahead.
I just had one more thing that I wanted to make sure, and I've sent it to you all, but I want to make sure you're aware of. We will be purchasing, the Office of Elections and Voter Registration will be purchasing a new postage machine. It was found out when I had to run about 4 to 5, 600, I'm not sure, really, confirmation notices. Ours feeds one at a time. And I was really pretty astonished that it only fed one piece of mail at a time. So, in preparation and to better prepare the office for elections, for confirmation notices, for precinct cards that must go out, we will be doing that. And as soon as the contract is finished looking at, we will have to do that in order to be better prepared for our voters. Because mainly, I want to share, some of you may not know, but when I started running the confirmation notices down at the office and feeding them one by one by one, and we were closed due to COVID, I then thought, well, I'm going down to the main office, and I'm gonna run them there. And I did, or tried. Well, the new machine wasn't installed yet, and then, anyway, it was very unsuccessful. So it was it was making marks and tearing them. Long story short, got with the clerk of Superior Court, and we ran the rest of them, which were a good many, and we reimbursed the clerk of court for what was spent. We do not need to be in that position again. We could be talking about ballots. That's why this is the utmost important. So just wanted to make sure you're aware of that.
All right, thank you, Kim. I don't have any further comments. Do you have the text to adjourn for, here we go. Yeah, so do you have a comment, please?
I do.
Okay, the floor is yours.
I just wanted to make y'all aware that on ACCG's radar, there are a couple of things involving legislation. One is that they are asking that you talk to your legislators about funding for precinct cards and postage. ACCG and the Secretary of State's office are asking legislative budget writers for approximately $3 million in additional 2022 funding to reimburse counties for having to print and mail new precinct cards following redistricting. If you would please address that with our legislators. That is much needed funding for a huge amount of postage that will be used this voting season. Also, you may be aware that currently with open records requests for poll officer oaths, that the law protects those poll officer oaths. Those are not required to be disclosed to an open records request. There is pending legislation that would authorize public to view ballots, and that would also include those poll worker oaths. ACCG is neutral on this. I just wanted to make y'all aware of the pending legislation. I don't know what your position might be. I'm happy to send you the text of this, it's House Bill 933, if you're interested.
You see
You
how
wanna read
long?
it?
That thing is pretty long.
Yeah, and also, if anybody wants to lobby for them paying for our Dominion warranty bill, we'd all appreciate that very much, too. While you're at it.
That's all.
3 million plus 31,000 and something. Okay, this is the right text, right?
It is, yep.
Yep, okay. So, the county attorney requests an executive session to discuss pending or potential litigation, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, or judicial actions brought or to be brought by or against Spalding County Board of Elections and registration or any officer or employee in which the Board of Elections or any officer or employee may be directly involved as provided by OCGA 5014-21. Do we need a motion?
Be happy to make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Second. All in favor? All right, we are in executive session. We'll be back to adjourn, but we're gonna be in there. Yeah, I'm gonna need just a second too, I think. It's been a long meeting.
Okay, we're moving into executive session. Yeah, in other words,
Well,
we're
that's
still
okay,
going.
'cause I can look back at that. Okay. It'll pull by that, and I'll know that you said it Friday.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, okay, so maybe I'll just pass it. It was when I was, I apologize.
Some comment arose, telling us that somebody was taken sometime arose an email telling me that Sunday voting was key. Okay, we didn't vote.
Yes.
All right, I gotta go. Yep.
Oh, I know. I mean, there's no reason not to. Yeah, there's no reason not to. But I forgot to bring the affidavit.
Deputy Beers, can we have all that?
Yes.
Contact this one and ask me about that and all that.
Thank you. I'm headed that way.
All right. We didn't approve minutes.
I knew that, but
Left
I
off the
didn't want to
agenda.
bring it up and
We can
make
just do
it
it,
look
we can
ugly.
just do it next time.
Yeah, you know, this,